In this IHRM case study, we selected the well-known failure case, SAIC and SSANGYONG, to explore the problem of insufficient resource integration. It's now the time to present our outcomes.
This is the problem part for the SAIC SSANGYONG acquisition. Content: first we will address the main problem, then we will diagnose the problems, classify them and analyze them. Failed integration. Although SAIC has achieved a quite good and stable corporate performance, but the international human resource management has always brought up problems of insufficient integration of resources. SAIC and SSANGYONG come from different countries, with different cultures. Therefore, most experts believe that the failure of this acquisition is due to the inability of cultural integration. When we recall the takeover of SSANGYONG by SAIC, we should not only consider it as a failure of cultural integration. The focus should rather be on the insufficient planning. Looking at SAIC's takeover of SSANGYONG, with the benefit of hindsight, we can seamlessly see that SAIC started preparing for the takeover of SSANGYONG when SSANGYONG was only marginally bidding. The takeover is the hasty decision. SAIC's failure to carry out cultural integration is undoubtedly a contributing factor. Nevertheless, independent research was not conducted before the acquisition. A comprehensive and detailed integration plan was not developed in advance, and a lack of talent with international implementation strategies resulted in the failure to integrate SSANGYONG's human resources in a timely manner after the acquisition. Problem diagnosis. Referring to the pre-M&A stage, there are a few steps ignored or done insufficiently by both SAIC and SSANGYONG. One of them is planning for due diligence. As information and reports indicated, there was no detailed plan generated for the specific purpose of acquisition. Another step is managing staff appraisal. SSANGYONG in particular has not taken action on staff assessment, layoff and identification of target staff. In addition, SAIC did not even pay attention to the conflicts and problems that arose from overlapping of power areas. Regarding the due diligence phase, the cost forecasting was done well, but there are steps where cultural issues were supposed to be identified and assessed, but were inappropriately dealt with, resulting in cultural conflicts partly triggered by the insufficient integration of cultural resources. This issue will be dealt with later in the solution part. Most of the problems are found in the integration planning phase, where both the integration of human resources and the integration of cultural resources have proven to be insufficient, ineffective and inefficient. The development of programs to retain key talent and the definition of an organizational approach and human resource plan are attributed to the problem of insufficient human resource integration, which are particularly related to human resource management. Problem analysis. A very underestimated problem of M&A is the lack of a motive to buy or collaborate with another company. As seen in this case, the shares of SSANGYONG were emptied and this led to huge losses. The workers and managers of the smaller companies are naturally suspicious of an impending acquisition or collaboration. As seen in this case, the managers of SSANGYONG thought that SAIC only wanted to steal their company's technology. The mentioned problem of lack of a motive inadvertently leads to another very big problem. These turmoils and distrustful managers have a negative impact on shareholders, who in most cases worry about the safety of their shares. Very often the M&A process is underestimated by saying that the due diligence is enough to prepare for this situation, but the truth is another. The first big problem is what questions to ask in the first place. In most cases, there's a lot of information missing due to acting too quickly, as in the SAIC SSANGYONG case. This can lead to unexpected costs, which can be very problematic.
Starting from international training and development model, we would like to apply our solution and blend them into the structure of it. As a whole, they will cover both human resource integrations and cultural resource integration. As demonstrated in recruitment and selection, we concluded basic process, due diligence, personnel integration process, employees evaluation and assessment, strategic planning, practices and implementation. So when reaching the training and development steps, we decided to combine these two steps into one perspective in solution, where all of these steps are included and further discussed. Specifically, the pre-departure training under the step of training is expected to refer to HR of both sides, SAIC and SSANGYONG, to train the retained or the targeted employees before the acquisition, as the cross-border acquisitions are expected to also include expatriates and international assignments. However, international assignment will not be described with too much in-depth analysis, owing that both of these two enterprises fail to collaborate and cooperate even before reaching this step. So we will shed light in recruitment and selection, training, including the pre-departure training and development. And as you can see, the solution were built, created, and developed based on this model.
for the insufficient human resource. The first one is influencing factors of human resource integration. There is no sufficient due diligence before the M&A and no complete and detailed integration plan in the initial stage of the M&A. Then lack for talents with international management ability. The last one is resulting the failure to integrate SANGYONG's human resource in the time after M&A. Next factor is investigate the coordination of the implementation of the two enterprises strategies. So two enterprises will support and help each other's development and achieve complementary effects through learning from each other and resource sharing. The fundamental reasons for the sales of it should be carefully considered before M&A. And next is enterprises need to actively investigate the target enterprises. So the first one is compatibility of cultures of both sides and the evaluation of the key personnel. Acquirer should evaluate its talent, research whether through personnel can be provided to manage the other party enterprises. The personnel of the other party can be effectively integrated with the personnel of the enterprise. So next one is the basic process. First step is data collection and audit. This step needs to ask for the composition information, collect and review relevant plans, stock price, regulations, contracts, and arrange set visits and senior management meetings. Also need to prepare the multi-level workforce, salary, and HR plan analyze. And the step 2 is analyze finance and compliance. This step needs to identify existing funds, benefits, assets, and liabilities, and estimate the cost of future restructuring and the dismissal. Identify the impact of the employer choice and the contracts. And then evaluate the operation of human resource. Step 3 is forecast labor cost. It needs to calculate the cost based on acquisition model, conduct dismissal, cost analyze, evaluate liabilities and the upcoming cost, and determine the purchase price. So the last step is final evaluation and contract. To prioritize matters that affect enterprise value, identify key integration challenge, identify assets and obligations to be assumed, specify the terms and the conditions after the transaction. Finally, implement the formal transaction service contract. Next step is personnel integration process. There are 3 parts. The first part is determination of leadership team. The M&A enterprise appoints co-managers, key features of the M&A enterprise and the external employees. Next one is retention of key employees. Determine the list of key employees, conduct in-depth communication, clarify the prospect, gain trust, appoint, and raise salary. So last one is disposal of remaining personnel. It have to evaluate the damage of human resource after M&A and identify diversion and reduce personnel. Make plans and estimate cost, implement diversion and downsizing. For this business case, first of all, SAIC didn't understand the corporate culture difference of SANGYONG enough, which led to the failure of human resource integration in later stage. There are occurring corporate culture has a high centralized organizational structure. The power of senior leadership is relatively concentrated, and business are also paying more attention to seniority. So the post-manner human resource management integration strategy mainly include the following aspects. Number 1, clarify the role of the human resource management. 2, download strategy and retaining talents. 3, take quick action to complete the integration process.
Other than the personnel investigation and communication beforehand, we also focus on the pre-acquisition due diligence, appraisal, and laid-off arrangement. Therefore, we build a system of practices and implementation. Here is the process. We will conduct basic employees appraisal, employee professional-based scoring, and position-based scoring. Then we calculate all scores and rank. The bottom 50% will be laid off because of the overlapping power and HR resources, when the top 60% are considered as targeted talents. The top 30 to 60% of them will be provided 5% increase on salary. The top 1 to 30% will be provided 10% increase on salary, and position promotion of 1 level for top 10%. First of all, we got the basic employees appraisal form here. We included 11 factors in 5-point Likert scale for assess's immediate supervisor to evaluate, including punctuality, accountability, work quality, work quantity, time management, teamwork, dependability, loyalty, and so forth. Then, according to the job professional, we added the corresponding point to the rating of different employees. This is designed for more efficient HR resources integration without any discrimination and prejudice to any of them. Last, we got the position-based scoring. Similarly, we add the corresponding point to them. After the calculation and ranking, we will implement the steps mentioned accordingly.
In this part, we focus on federal corporate culture integration. You know that as Chinese multinational automotive design and manufacturing company, which headquartered in Shanghai, SAIC has a typical Chinese enterprise culture and management mode which conflicts with SANGYONG. In the end, SANGYONG employees went on strict against SAIC's management. We put on 4 categories of during culture stage. Actually, they are in the separation stage, where they strive to maintain their original culture heritage. For instance, the top management from SAIC are highly loyal to their parent company, so that they ignore the interaction deeply with SANGYONG's enterprise culture. We support that change the separation to integration to solve the problem, as I mentioned before. Please note that communication is the best way to solve the misunderstanding, and in this stage, make sure the common goal and vision are necessary. According to these cases, we analyze that the main purpose of SAIC definitely is learning tech knowledge, whereas SANGYONG is interested in China market. Exactly, SANGYONG believes that this acquisition is a stolen tech knowledge wave for SAIC due to the lack of communication. Simultaneously, SAIC failed SANGYONG's top manager due to the information on non-transparency. Without good communication, also caused the miss of confidence from each other employee and destroy a sense of working security of employee, which leads on the strike. Difference is necessary. It should be clarified the gap between each others and build a bridge to shorten the gap. Is that definitely their country's culture index and maps them next to each other. For these cases, value cannot be attributed to the cultural difference of countries because they are both Asian country. In general, it was caused by different organization cultures. So focus on their single website, culture website is better, which could define the culture they will make as doing the right things. To define the new culture within the organization, the new culture should make a value, beliefs, and behaviors that share amongst all employees, and the leader should be aligned and be an example. After that, it's necessary to set up a measure and incentive treatment to enhance integration with the new culture. Lastly, celebrate change. These two sides should be aligned and adopt the new culture and move the business forward. The change of culture block or management should be listed on written also. Firstly, diagnose the existing and clarify the original successful factors and how they get work done at both companies, which including consider the main factors that lead the organization successful and what should be maintained by target market. And considering their management practice and working norms also. It is a great way to know the organization structure and the incentive program. We drop on simple first to analyze the organization culture, which measures the organization whether it's with many presidents is egalitarian. They are strict on the expenditure, or how about the recording feature as a control system. And consider power distance also to know organization structure is important and is narrow or right left. Otherwise, what is the best way of behaving in that organization and what is their routine. Finally, find the paradigms within the organization and we can conduct the organization culture. Secondly, list the events we should be maintained and set up priorities. It should basics on the culture is maximize the leading value at both company and integrate with a meaningful difference. And third, the new culture should be hardwired into the new operating and the actual practice. And also it's worth to build the organization brick structure to make sure the information is symmetrical.
However, the cultural resource integration are required to be done carefully after the acquisition with balance between both to enterprise and taking the employees' psychological factors and effects of both sides into account. Therefore, we would love to highlight ice-breaking activity and employees' training when acquisition is just done with a detailed tailored event plan. As for employee training, CEO, HR delegates from SAIC and SSANGYONG will give speeches in the morning section. After, they will join ice-breaking games by department. Broad training, department guide, and intra-department communication will let them have a clear understanding of what to do, where to go, who to refer to, when to conduct, etc. While meeting the direct superiors and supervisors, employees are able to obtain a clear view of the work relationship among everyone involved as well. Similarly, by experiencing such training, employees can get to work with peers better by acknowledging superiors' expectations. The above are all of our research outcomes. If you have more doubts about this case, please contact us. Thank you.